The joy that Fernando Alonso felt after reaching the podium for the 100th time in the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix was quickly replaced with disappointment on Sunday evening, when he was informed that he would be assessed a time penalty of 10 seconds for incorrectly serving a previous time penalty of 5 seconds. Alonso jumped to the lead of the race at the Jeddah Corniche circuit from P2 on the grid, having been promoted to that position by a grid penalty for Ferrari's Charles Leclerc. However, it was later determined that Alonso was not in the correct position on the grid, and he was given a time penalty of 5 seconds for being out of position. That penalty served. Alonso then drove a determined race to hold off the Mercedes of George Russell and take what on paper was his 100th podium in the sport, behind the Red Bulls of winner Sergio Perez and Max Verstappen. The safety car had been brought out to clear up teammate Lance Stroll's car, which he'd been forced to stop out on the track. However, the eagle-eyed stewards ruled that while Alonso was serving his 5-second penalty, the rear jack that was used to lift Alonso's car up for its subsequent tire change had made contact with the AMR-23 before the 5-second penalty had been served. This occurred while the mechanics working on Alonso's Aston Martin were still cheering for him after the podium celebrations. As a result of the very identical event occurring to Esteban Ocon in Bahrain 2 weeks ago, the stewards moved quickly to throw down a further post-race 10-second penalty, which dropped Alonso to P4 and ultimately gave Russell and Mercedes their first podium finish of the season. The brand that is synonymous with opulence and refinement, Aston Martin, has had quite the adventure in the world of Formula One racing. From their beginnings in the 1950s till they made their comeback to the sport in 2021, they've seen their fair share of success and failure along the way. Yet by the year 2023, the British racing squad is beginning to see signs of improvement. At the beginning of the 2023 season, Aston Martin had an early start and quite literally struck the ground running. Their vehicle had excellent speed and competitiveness, and Fernando Alonso was even able to place third in the standings in the Bahrain Grand Prix. Since his return to competition, following a 2-year hiatus during which he was involved with Alpine, the two-time defending world champion has been wowing spectators with his prowess on the racetrack. So what exactly does this new way of working together imply for Aston Martin? To begin, it presents the group with a fresh obstacle to overcome. They have two formidable drivers who are eager to achieve victory behind the wheel in the form of Alonso and Lance Stroll. The future seems promising for the British racing team, particularly if their vehicle continues to demonstrate the same level of performance as it showed in Bahrain. Naturally, there will be a new dynamic once a new driver is chosen. Because Alonso is so well known for his rigorous work ethic and fierce competition, it is almost certain that he will test the limits of not only Stroll but the rest of the squad as well. But let's not forget that Alonso also has a humorous side, and his well-known sense of humor may give some comedy relief in the Aston Martin garage. Let's not forget that. Now let's talk a little about the race results. After starting 15th on the grid, teammate Max Verstappen fought his way up to earn second place in the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix, which allowed Sergio Perez to lead another Red Bull 1-2 finish. After giving up the lead to Fernando Alonso at the start of the race, Perez quickly caught up and overtaking the Aston Martin driver. After that point onwards, the Red Bull driver never gave up his advantage, and Alonso claimed the final podium position by finishing third for the second race in a row. From the beginning of the race, George Russell was able to only maintain third place, which was behind Alonso and Perez. Oscar Piastri sustained front wing damage as the field negotiated through the opening bends, and debris from the McLaren was struck by teammate Lando Norris on the second lap. As a result, both McLaren drivers had to visit the pits for front wing changes. While Alonso was in the lead, the stewards promptly revealed that he had been given a time penalty of 5 seconds for an erroneous starting location. This was the same offense that Esteban Ocon committed in the first race in Bahrain. Thus, Alonso was given the same penalty. However, Perez did not require the penalty in order to recover the lead from the Aston Martin, because he dove to the inside of the first corner at the beginning of the fourth lap of the race in order to go into first place. After getting off to less than ideal starts, 12th and 15th, respectively, Charles Leclerc and Max Verstappen worked their way up through the field step by step. By lap 13, Leclerc had moved up to 6th place, just behind teammate Carlos Sainz Jr. on soft tires, while Verstappen had moved up 7 positions, all the way to 8th place on medium tires. Alonso's deficit to Perez increased to 4.5 seconds, but he opened up a cushion of over 7 seconds to Russell, who was in third place. Towards the end of the 17th lap, Lance Stroll was given the order to immediately stop his vehicle and pull off the course. Even though Stroll's car was many car lengths behind the barrier, the safety car was nonetheless brought out. Perez, Alonso, Russell, Lewis Hamilton, and Leclerc all entered the pit lane, and all of them, with the exception of Hamilton, switched to hard tires. The lead was maintained by Perez. Alonso served his penalty but maintained second place ahead of Russell, and Verstappen moved up to fourth place. Russell finished fifth. Perez took the lead away from Alonso when the race restarted on lap 20, and Alonso was put under pressure from Russell behind him. Perez managed to pull out a lead of 2 seconds at the end of the first lap with the green flag, while Hamilton utilized the advantage of his medium compound tires to pass Sainz on the exit of turn 2 and move up to 6th place. While they were on the straightaway leading up to the final turn, Verstappen took advantage of DRS to get around Russell and into third place. The following lap, Verstappen was already tucked up behind Alonso and easily overtook him into turn 1 to make it a Red Bull 1-2 up top just before the halfway point of the race distance. Perez and Verstappen started trading fastest laps at the front of the pack as the two drivers steadily moved away from the following pack that was behind them. On lap 37, Verstappen reported that he was having issues with his driveshaft. This caused the Red Bull pit wall to be filled with anxious expressions because an issue with this component had forced him to drop out of qualifying. But following their review of the data, the team indicated that they were pleased with what they saw of their vehicle and urged him to carry on with his journey. Because the hard tires were able to last until the end of the race, the front-running cars did not have to make any additional pit stops. Perez kept his lead at the front of the pack and counted off the laps until he crossed the finish line at the end of the 50th lap to capture the checkered flag and win the race. Although he finished 5 seconds behind the winner in second place, Verstappen maintained his lead in the championship standings by completing the last race with the quickest lap. With his third-place finish, Alonso claimed a spot on the podium for the second race in a row, followed by two Mercedes drivers, Russell and Hamilton. The Ferraris of Sainz and Leclerc crossed the finish line in 6th and 7th place, respectively, placing them above the Alpine duo of Ocon and Pierre Gasly. Kevin Magnussen finished the race in 10th place, earning the final point for Haas after overtaking Yuki Tsunoda in the closing circuits. As we conclude our discussion on Fernando Alonso's 10-second penalty and the Jeddah Grand Prix, it's clear that the race provided an unforgettable experience for motorsport enthusiasts worldwide. While the penalty has sparked various debates, there's no denying that the Jeddah Grand Prix showcased the best of Formula One racing. From the intense competition to the stunning performances by the drivers, it was truly a remarkable event. We hope you enjoy our discussion, and we look forward to hearing your thoughts and opinions about the race and Fernando Alonso's 10-second penalty. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you in the next one.